I talk, you listen, or you turn the channel. Either way, I'm still going to talk. Hey, you're here. Great. I was thinking maybe a lot of you might have had to give up your TVs to pay the mortgages or whatever. But I was just reading the article from Wednesday's Sentinel about the wind farm that's going up in Leominster. What a fantastic idea. All right, let me start with some announcements. Great news. Back when I first started this show, I used to make the comment that I would never be really, truly happy until Cheshire TV got a satellite. You know, until we were able to have the funding to launch our own satellite. Today I'm happy. We didn't launch a satellite, but we are now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch Cheshire TV at CheshireTV.org. All over the world, you can watch us by logging on at CheshireTV.org. You can go to the program guide page, find your favorite shows, find out what time they're on, and all over the place. People will be able to watch Cheshire TV. And Lee was showing me the setup earlier. He can tell how many people are clicking on the website and watching the videos. And it's live. I guess there's a 3-second delay from what we see here in Keene, and if you put your computer next to your TV, there's a 3-second delay between the TV and the computer.
Yeah, so now folks that work and have to use their computers at work, they can log on and while they're at work, on their break, of course.
Exactly.
Be able to check out their favorite shows that they might be on during the day.
Exactly. Spend your lunch hour on your computer watching a Gladiator movie. Why not? It's great. Every third day, Gladiator. Every second day is Westerns, I think. The old, but CTV on the web, finally, global. It's great. And for any of you who are watching on the web, if you want to email us, you can email us at unfiltered@hotmail.com. You see our nice graphic for all. And I just want to tell anybody that's watching that isn't in the Time Warner cable area that we're in, that are watching it on the web, this is entirely a completely volunteer operation here. Everybody that you see on this channel are volunteers. Everybody you see working the shows on this channel are all volunteers. And it's a great thing. You'll meet my crew here in a little while. The next announcement. This coming Sunday, which is the 12th, October 12th, at 7 p.m., a special live edition of No Spin will be airing at 7 o'clock. And they will have Molly Kelly versus Tom Eaton. Big knockdown death brawl, I guess, to help us decide which one we want to elect to the New Hampshire Senate.
They ought to put them in them sumo wrestling suits and let them go at it.
That would make it really funny, I bet. That probably would have made the presidential debate a lot better if they put him in them fat suits. But Randy and Chris will open the show, and then they're going to step back and let the candidates have the stage, and the candidates will be asked questions by representatives from the Keene Sentinel and WKBK here in Keene. So it should be very interesting. 2 years ago, we did the debate down in Heberton Hall. The public was invited, and we showed the whole debate on Cheshire TV. And that was a lot of fun. This time, there's going to be no audience. It'll just be done in the studio so that the candidates won't get distracted or anything. And it should be very interesting. I know both of them are very easy to listen to. They've both got great ideas. And 2 years ago, Molly Kelly took the seat from Tom Eaton, and Tom wants to be back in. So that's on Sunday. Starting next Friday, the 17th at 10 p.m., my new talk show, Talk and Awe. Be a live show at 10 o'clock on Fridays. I think I'm going to be taking phone calls. So, and basically talking about things that the callers are interested in. Call me, let me know your problems, let me know, what you're concerned about with the country, with the environment. And, maybe we can, by talking, that's how solutions are reached. You get more than one brain involved, and people come to solutions to problems a lot easier than if just one person focused on it. So that's going to be the new show, and it's going to be talk, and I'm going to add some comedy in there, dirty jokes, Speaking of jokes, I got to tell you this before I get to my next announcement. I heard this joke the other day. Actually, it was Bruce that came home with it. And the joke is, why do chicken coops have 2 doors? Because if they had 4 doors, they'd be chicken sedans. I love them stupid animal jokes, right? Yeah. I got a better one I'll tell next week on the new show. I don't think I can say it here, though. I don't even know what the date is, the Pumpkin Fest. Is it the 25th? October 25th, downtown Keene. If you can make it down, come on down. Cheshire TV will be there. And I guess we are, according to all the radio ads, we are still striving to break the record of 28,000 something. But Cheshire TV will be there all day. Planned the first scheduled show is set to start at 9 in the morning, and we'll broadcast live right up until the end. I don't know if we'll stay and film the fireworks. I know we did one year. But I believe Randy and Chris are going to start the day at 9 in the morning with an episode of No Spin. And then Tracy Perkins from Choices and I will take over. Basically, not individual shows. We'll just be hosting as Cheshire TV personalities and filling everybody in what's going on. I guess we're going to have some roaming people that are going to take cameras, and I believe from one of the State College Film Studies group, some of those kids are going to take cameras around and get footage from things that are going on at different places in the festival and bring them back, and we'll show you that too, on top of the live stuff that's going on. And then I know that I believe Free Minds is scheduled to do a show. Cinemaniacs is going to be doing a show. No Spin, Chris and Randy are going to do, I believe, the opening and the closing, I think. But everything's tentative right now as far as a schedule. But we will be on the air. I think we went live last year at like 8 or 8:30. And of course, at that time in the morning, you get to see, the final setup stuff that the Cheshire TV people are doing, the volunteers are doing. And that'll be an entirely volunteer crew also, who will spend 12 to 16 hours the day of the Pumpkin Fest making sure that everybody at home, and apparently now around the world, can look at the Pumpkin Fest. We don't need to bring 80,000 people to Keene anymore to see the Pumpkin Fest.
Never make the amount of pumpkin.
They can. Well, you're right. Anyway, that's yeah, they bring a pumpkin and then go home and watch it. Where the streets will be opened up a little bit, and it'll be kind of cool. I got 5 minutes. I don't know if I can do this in 5 minutes or not. Actually, I'll do this in 5 minutes because we talked about this last week. The whole bailout plan And how my idea was that maybe the government should just give everybody money and let us boost the economy for them. Because let me tell you about this, the crazy stuff I've been hearing lately. Lehman Brothers. I guess the big CEO of Lehman Brothers was in front of the subcommittee or something at the beginning of the week, because they were trying to say that Lehman Brothers had given him $500 million for his 8 years of service at Lehman Brothers. And he swore up and down, no, they didn't give me $500 million. They only gave me $310 million. Only. So I feel that I'm going to have a hard time making ends meet in my golden years with 310. Yeah. Meanwhile, I heard later in the week that AIG, the big, what is it, American Insurance Group, is that what that stands for? After all this whole economic crisis thing had started, they were still giving out hundreds of thousands of dollars in company bonuses, executive bonuses. After the bailout was announced, they took their executives on a $400,000 retreat. Yeah. And that included like 200 and something thousand dollars for rooms, $150,000 for food, and $28,000 for spa services. Because, you know, every executive deserves a nice mud bath and massage and hot stone treatment, right? No, I don't think so. Every corporate CEO deserves a good kick right in the ghoulies.
I'll tell you what, I'd give him a nice stone treatment.
That's probably the best idea. We line them up on Wall Street and stone them all. And I actually thought the other day, this is how sick my mind is, Osama bin Laden is probably not even overseas anymore. Osama bin Laden's shaved with a haircut and a nice suit prancing around on Wall Street. That's exactly where he is. We're looking on the other side of the world. He's on Wall Street tearing down the financial system. And what easier way to ruin America than to ruin us financially? It could be, the whole terrorist. Maybe it's a combination terrorist government conspiracy. They got together. They said, let's ruin the economy. Then we'll only have rich people, and the rich people can just give the terrorists money to leave them alone. Something. Anyway, I got this email last week after the show. And it's about the bailout. And it was a blog that somebody found about the bailout. And it says, this person is in favor of giving $85 billion to America in a we deserve it dividend. Now, he gives us simple math. So if anybody wants to pull out their pens and pencils and calculators and slide rules or whatever, go ahead. I'll wait. All right. Let's assume this 200 million bona fide U.S. citizens that are over the age of 18, adults, honest to goodness American citizens, not the ones with green cards, not the ones with phony IDs, not the ones that just slipped across the vacuum the rug. Our population is about 301 billion people, counting every man, woman, and child. So 200 billion might be a fair estimate at adults, 18 and older. So divide 200 million adults into the $85 billion. That equals $425,000. So give every adult that's a honest to goodness American citizen $425,000 as a we deserve it dividend. Good plan, huh? Now wait, this wouldn't be just free money. Because if you get $425,000, you have to pay taxes on $425,000. So let's say, what's a fair tax rate? 30%? All right, we'll use 30%. That's what he used here. So I'll use it. That means that every individual that gets $425,000 has to pay $127,500 back to the government. All right. That sends $25 billion, $500 million right back to the government immediately. Right back to the government. The bank's not going to give the government $25 billion back immediately. But that also means that every American adult still has $297,500 in their pocket. And a married couple would have $595,000 in their pocket. Think of what you could do with that. You could pay off a mortgage, and the housing crisis is solved. You could repay college loans, and that would be a great boost to future students and the funding of education. You could put away money for college, and so that it'll be there. You could put money in a bank and save it in a bank. And that creates money to loan to these small business people. You could also buy a new car, and a new American car, and that would create jobs for Americans. Or you could invest in the market, because capital drives growth. You could pay for your parents' medical expenses, and health care would improve. It would also enable deadbeat dads to finally catch up. Or else. You know? Remember this. This is for every. It says, remember that this is for every United States citizen, including all the people that just lost their jobs at Lehman Brothers and AIG and every other company that's cutting back. And it also means that same amount of money for every soldier serving in the United States military. How much more do you think a soldier is going to give for his country if the company just gave him a boatload of money like that? He's going to fight a little harder, because all of a sudden he's got a little bit more renewed interest in how great things are in the United States, because they just gave him a buttload of money. And all he had to do was pay the taxes on it. And if everybody used the money wisely, it would help our economy. So this guy says, if we're going to redistribute wealth, let's really do it. Instead of trickling out a puny $1,000 economic incentive that is being proposed by one of the presidential candidates. And it's a little bit better than, you know, let's send everybody that files taxes $300. You know? I paid more taxes this year than my tax rebate check. Way more, probably double. And they go, here, have $300. You know, that didn't really help. $300 barely scratched the surface for some people. So this guy goes on to say, if we are going to do an $85 billion bailout, let's bail out every adult U.S. citizen. And as for AIG and these other companies, liquidate it. Sell it off. Let American General go back to being American General. Sell off the real estate. Let the private sector bargain hunters cut it up and clean it up. And this guy's rationale is that we, the American people, deserve this, not AIG. These companies don't deserve the money that we're giving them. Every American deserves the money that the government's going to just give to these huge companies who are still wasting money on their so-called executives, while they're laying off people. It's horrible. This guy says, sure, it's a crazy idea that can never work, but can you imagine the coast-to-coast block party when those checks hit? It would be great. Anyway, and remember that this plan that this guy has really only costs the government $59.5 billion because they get $25.5 billion back in taxes. All right. But that's the email. I mean, it's a great plan, and it follows right along with what I'm saying. Give the money to the people. Let the people bail the banks out. All right. I guess I ran over. I'm sorry, Bruce. But we can go to crew call now, I guess. And I don't know what happened to Tarzan this week, but we have no Tarzan in the studio. We do, however, have Greg. Stock and footed as always, running all the cameras and everything else, and being the laugh track. So, in the booth is Bruce and Andrea.
How you doing out there, Rick?
I'm doing good, Bruce. Very happy tonight.
Yeah, it was good news.
Yes.
Real good news. You gave me a shout at the house and said, hey, pull up Cheshire TV, and lo and behold, I was watching the programming that was airing on TV, so that's pretty awesome. Now we let the kids know down south that they can see their mom on TV on Friday nights and can see what's going on up here in Keene, so that's awesome. Other than that, it's been kind of a crappy week. Working is too damn hard. But, I don't know, beautiful weather.
It's been nice for fall.
It's been a nice autumn so far. Leaves are turning, and temperatures are more comfortable, so it's not too bad. But this past week's race, oh my gosh.
I've got nothing to say about it. I'm just...
All I got to say is Carl Edwards is my hero.
I've had it with NASCAR. I've had it with everything.
Well, we'll let Andrea tell everybody how it went.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it was an absolute slugfest. I always liked Talladega, but I'll tell you what, I never have seen anything like that. They ended up with 5 blown engines out of the 43 that started. They had 11 vehicles that stopped running because they were in accidents. They had blown tires. They had, as Bruce said, Carl Edwards. He was the absolute hero of the whole day. He somehow messed up and took out himself and a couple more of his teammates. Yeah, like Bruce said, he was bump drafting in the turn, which that doesn't work real well, and caused a real fiasco. But anyways, I'll give you the top 5 for the finish. And that was Tony Stewart. Paul Menard came in second. Good finish for him. David Reagan third. Another good finish. Jeff Burton fourth. And Clint Boyer fifth. Now, 3 of those, Stewart, Burton, and Boyer, are the only 3 that are in the chase. That finished in the top 5. God only knows where anybody else finished because, like I said, it was an absolute slugfest. It shook up the standings quite a bit. Jimmy Johnson held on to first place. Carl Edwards, the hero of the day, is in second. Greg Biffle third. Jeff Burton fourth. Now those 4 pretty much stayed where they belong. They had been when they went into the race. Clint Boyer came up 2 places. Kevin Harvick, who's my guy for the chase, actually dropped a spot. Tony Stewart came up 4 places into 7th. Jeff Gordon dropped 2 places down into 8th. Matt Kenseth is in 9th. Dale Jr. lost 2 spots. He's down in 10th. And Dale Jr. just kind of, when you say got caught between a rock and a hard place, he was just plain flat out sandwiched in, and that put him right out of it. Well, yeah, Bruce said he got caught between an idiot and a dumbass, so that's pretty much the way it was. Kyle Busch, oh, he must have been real excited. He actually came up one place. He's in 11th now. And poor Denny Hamlin was leading the race, lost a tire and slammed the wall. Ended up being taken to the hospital. He was kept overnight for observation. They thought he might have had a concussion and a mild concussion, but he was released on Monday, so he's doing a lot better. But anyways, he'll be at Lowe's this week, so it's fair game there too, because that's usually another good track for running. A little bit of extra news though is the number 39, which is going to be driven by Newman for Stewart Haas Racing next year, is going to be sponsored by the Army. So Army may have left DEI and number 8, but they are staying in racing. So that's really good for Stewart. The other thing is there was some controversy when Stewart won the race last week with Regan Smith. He's a rookie and he was trying real hard to take first place. He went below the yellow line, and at Talladega, that's an absolute no-no. You can't do that. Now, he tried to say he was forced below, but NASCAR's opinion was, no, you were not forced down there. You went below the yellow line on the last lap to try to better yourself. In other words, win the race. So he was actually relegated back to, it was either 18th or 20th place. Stewart was given the win. And NASCAR said, in no uncertain terms, on any lap of the race are you to go below the yellow line. So that's pretty definitive at this point. But anyways, that's pretty much all there is for this week, Rick, and they will be off at Lowe's. So have fun.
Well, thanks. And I was just going through picking out some useless facts in case I need them for later. Finding some good ones. All right. We talked about some great things at the beginning with announcements. We talked about some actually, let's go back. I'll save the really great stuff till later. Let's talk about the debates and how if they would just keep running this stuff every night, we could probably cut down on the amount of Ambien and NyQuil and sleepies and all those sleeping medications, because things have been the most boring friggin' debates I've ever seen. Now, I made it, I think, 10 minutes through the vice presidential one.
That's just because you're watching the legs.
Because I mean, it's the one thing she's got going for her. She's got nice legs. Apparently, she was in New Hampshire today or yesterday or something. But she was going to be somewhere, and her husband was going to be somewhere up north at some snowmobile rally or something, because he's a huge snowmobile guy. But yeah, and they're not talking about anything. All the conversation they're having is, and this is the thing that got me, I only watched the highlights of the presidential debate, with McCain strolling around in another damn zip code on the stage while Obama was talking. And he used the phrase, my friend, like 1 billion times. And he kept saying, I know how to fix this economic disaster, and I know how to fix the mortgage crisis, and I know how to fix the war in Iraq, and I know how to catch Osama bin Laden. And he told us he knows how to do all that stuff, but he didn't tell us how. Apparently it's a whole bribery thing. I know how to fix things, but I'm not going to tell you unless you make me president. I'm actually pretty sure that once we make him president, he won't tell us either. That's the problem. They all say we know how to fix the problems,
But they don't.
when it comes time to fix the problems, they don't fix the problems. And it's just, I'm trying to figure out which one is the best candidate. Even though I don't vote, I know I should just back off and say, to hell with it all, watch cartoons or something. But One of them has to be president, apparently. And one day I'm for Obama because he says some great stuff. The next day I'm for McCain because he says some great stuff. The next day I just want to put them both against the wall and blow them up. Because they both say stupid stuff. And it's unreal. And McCain says he wants to cut taxes. He wants to cut spending. Obama's got a bunch of great ideas as far as new programs. You know, he thinks that we should pump more money into the education system and put money into other, you know, the gas crisis, and drilling for oil is not going to do any good. You know, we have to come up with wind power. Lemster's finally doing it. They're going to have 12 wind turbines lining the ridge. And they're not ugly. They're necessary. You know? They're necessary. I mean, nobody complains what their hot water heater looks like. You know? Oh my God, it's the ugliest thing. That's why we put it in the basement. Nobody wants to look at the hot water heater, but it's necessary. So you have one. You don't care what it looks like as long as it works. It's the same thing with these wind turbines. So you're going to look up on the ridgeline. You're going to see beautiful fall foliage colors and a couple of big white windmills up there. Who cares? You know something? They're keeping the lights on in your house so you can see each other after the sun goes down. Here's an idea I just came up with. It just popped in my head, or finally came around again. Maybe we could solve the whole economic crisis by pushing daylight savings time back or ahead,
Or somewhat.
or stretching it or something. That way, the day would come later, or the day would start earlier, or it would end later, or something, but there'd be more time for them guys to get their money business together. I don't know. Maybe that would work. Maybe we just fly, you know, bring the military to Wall Street, wipe them out, you know, level the entire Wall Street, all the buildings, all the computers, everything down there. Start from scratch, you know. The hell. Wipe it all out, plant some corn down there, or some, whatever you could grow in New York. Tobacco, maybe. Tobacco's big these days, I'm telling you. Or the stuff to make alcohol. What's rum made? Does anybody know what rum's made out of?
Sugar cane.
Is it sugar cane? Plant sugar cane. That way we could get some subsidies from the government, some tax cuts, because we're making rum. See, you just have to think. I'm looking into starting my own business, making little wooden arrows for kids, so that I can get some huge tax breaks. And fight against NRA, I guess. Because, you know, that's going to be the next feud. Why are kids using arrows when we got guns? You know? It's just not right. Am I confusing you, Andrea? It's just fairly stupid. Neither one of them are worth voting for, Obama or McCain, you know. And Obama, because he's young, he picked the old vice president, the voice of wisdom or whatever, because Biden was alive during the Depression, just like McCain was. And McCain, because he's the old guy, he picked young Sarah Palin because she, you know, was a Miss Alaska or whatever, and she wore the moose fur bikini or the sealskin bikini when she was Miss Alaska or whatever. a bikini, I'll have you know that she beat the baby seal herself and sewed the bikini after she took the fur off the baby
I
arm
thought
seal.
she was an NRA advocate
She is.
and doesn't mind hunting with semi-automatic weapons.
Well, this was back when she was Miss Alaska. She probably had a gun, but it was all the craze to club your own seal. So yeah, and beside it, you got her some good contacts in Greenpeace, and that's when she realized, geez, maybe all this clubbing of stuff isn't right. You know, it's cruelty to animals or whatever. Maybe we'll just shoot them from now on. Yeah. Somebody said she hunts moose from a helicopter. No, with her 50 caliber machine gun or whatever she's got up there. Air to ground missiles or something. I don't know. But it's funny.
Well, at least
Anyway.
it would be like a normal person doing it on a four-wheeler.
No, she's rich. She has a helicopter. So that's enough about the economic stuff, the political crap. And after we get back to the musical interlude, I'm going to talk about some the Doomsday Clock. So up next on the musical interlude, this is another band. I'm not really sure where they were from, but they were a little different. They're called Third Left on the Mars.
There's a tune called The Light, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having the best time ever. It's my man on the balloon. I don't know his name, but he's the coolest dude in town right now. Give it up for that man. Yeah. This world, it may seem funny and not to find the money, but you still laugh for things that don't make sense, and people that are tense without them. You're a menace or up in the picture when not too critical. Man with no eyes that still sees fine through the light and the spirit. You know what here's a keep it up, they're giving it up to be the one bad. Everybody get up, get high, get up, get high. Shine out until you break the fire of darkness. And it burns the eyes of all this fire. Please don't leave me hanging on without your light, without your I know that without the Lord, people get stuck, people get up to be the one person in your mind. I wanna find out something that you cannot see. You gonna stick it up next to me, mother baby. Why you going crazy? What you see about the people giving it up, to living it up, to be the one bad person upside down, give it up. Shine on until you break the fire of darkness. And burn the eyes of all this fire. Please don't leave me hanging over without your light, without your light. What you can't see, I can see just fine. Please don't leave me hanging on tonight. Leave me here and I will be alright. Keep it up, shine. I know, giving it up, living it up, to be the one person you cannot see, to be the one thing that I know you love, you want, you feel, you want to give it up to people, want to be motivated. Oh, what you going crazy? What you see by the people giving it up, to living it up, to be the one bad person inside your body. Get up, go shine out until you break the fire of darkness. And then, the eyes of all this fire. without your light, without your light. But you can't see, I can see just fine. Please don't leave me hanging on tonight. Leave me here and I will be alright. Keep it up, baby, it's done. If you break the file of darkness, then you see me burn the eyes with all this fire. And please do not leave me hanging on without your light, without your light, yeah. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers.
Third left from Keene Music Fest 2008. I gotta tell you, we had a great day down there, man. Every band was fantastic. Great time. Just one of the many things you too could enjoy being part of if you come down to Cheshire TV and become a member.
More the merrier.
More the merrier, yeah. I happened to think the other day, because I remember doing a story back when we first started the show about the doomsday clock, because it had moved. For those of you who don't know what the doomsday clock is, the doomsday clock is a symbolic clock face that's been maintained since 1947 by the board of directors of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists at the University of Chicago. It uses the analogy of the human race being at a time that is a few minutes to midnight, where midnight represents destruction by nuclear war. Because it ran through my head, maybe I wonder if this whole economic thing had affected and all the world tension. But apparently it's mostly nuclear related, and it is government related to some degree. Every month or every issue of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, the doomsday clock appears on the cover of. The clock was started at 7 minutes before midnight during the Cold War in 1947. And it's moved either forwards or backwards at intervals depending on the state of the world and the prospects for nuclear war. The last time the clock was changed was 2007. Before that, the change before 2007, it was changed in 2002. Back to 7 minutes till midnight. Before 2002, it was further away. So the minute hand moves back as the world improves. The minute hand moves forward towards midnight as the world gets worse. So it started at 7 minutes of in 1947. In 1949, the Soviet Union tested its first atomic bomb, and the clock moved from 7 minutes to 12 to 3 minutes to 12. In 1953, the United States and Soviet Union test thermonuclear devices within 9 months of one another. The clock jumped to 2 minutes to midnight. In 1960, in response to a perception of increased scientific cooperation and public understanding of the dangers of nuclear weapons, the clock is moved back to 7 minutes, because it was a time when they felt that we were starting to know enough about nuclear weapons that we were guarding ourselves. We were going to be careful about getting to nuclear war. In 1963, the United States and Soviet Union signed the partial test ban, limiting atmospheric nuclear testing. I believe that was when we went to underground testing. And the clock moved further back to 12 minutes before midnight. In 1968, France and China acquire and test nuclear weapons. Wars rage in the Middle East, Indian subcontinent, and Vietnam. Clock went from 12 minutes to midnight back to 7 minutes to midnight. 1969, the U.S. Senate ratifies the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. That changed it from 7 minutes before midnight to 10 minutes before midnight. Slipped back 3 because of the treaty. 1979, SALT I, the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, and the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty moved the clock back to 12 minutes before midnight. So things were getting better. 1974, ooh, bad year. India tested the nuclear device, and the SALT II talks stalled. We moved to 9 minutes before midnight. 1980, further deadlocks in U.S.-USSR talks, an increase in nationalist wars and terrorist actions. Clock was moved back to 7 minutes to midnight again. 1981, the arms race escalates. Conflicts in Afghanistan, South Africa, and Poland add to world tensions. Clock was moved to 4 minutes to midnight. It's pretty scary the closer it gets to midnight to think that, click. 1984, further escalation of the arms race under the U.S. policies of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan pushed the clock to 3 minutes to midnight. Yeah. In 1988, U.S. and Soviet Union signed treaty to eliminate intermediate-range nuclear forces, and relations improve. Clock jumps back to 6 minutes till midnight. 1990, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Success of anti-communist movements in Eastern Europe. The Cold War was nearing an end. The clock moved back to 10 minutes before midnight. 91, we signed another treaty, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. Clock was bumped back to 17 minutes before midnight. That's the furthest it's ever been. From then on, it's been closer and closer. 1995, global military spending continues at Cold War levels. Concerns about post-Soviet nuclear proliferation of weapons and brain power. Clock moved ahead to 14 minutes before midnight. 1998, India and Pakistan test nuclear weapons in a tit-for-tat show of aggression. United States and Russia run into difficulties in further reducing stockpiles. We're back to 9 minutes before midnight. 2002, little progress on global nuclear disarmament. United States rejects a series of arms control treaties and announces its intentions to withdraw from the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. Terrorists are looking to acquire nuclear weapons. Clock went back to 7 minutes to midnight. So from 1947 to 2002, we ended at the same place, 7 minutes to midnight. In 2007, North Korea tested a nuclear weapon. Iran announced its nuclear ambitions. and it was moved to 11:55, 5 minutes to midnight. That's where it stands now. Now, it's not always set and reset as events happen. For instance, in 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis began, reached a climax and a resolution before the clock could be adjusted. So the whole thing was started and ended before it really meant anything. In all, the clock hands have been set 18 times, 19 times now since its initial start. It's referenced all over the place in society. It's referenced in music a lot. The doomsday clock is alluded to throughout the song 2 Minutes to Midnight, a single from Iron Maiden's album Power Slave. The Australian band Midnight Oil discussed the doomsday clock and the threat of nuclear war in their song Minutes to Midnight from the album Red Sails in the Sunset. The album cover depicted the disturbing scene of the city of Sydney after a fictional nuclear attack. Linkin Park, their third album, Minutes to Midnight, is a reference to the doomsday clock. And in the music video for Shadow of the Day by Linkin Park, the current time, 11:55, or maybe it was 11:57 or whatever, 11:53. The current time is shown at the beginning of the video, and by the end, it is almost to midnight. And in Ozzy Osbourne's Black Rain album, a song titled Countdown's Begun makes a reference to the clock. It's also referenced in television. Glenn Beck had a large doomsday clock on the set of his CNN headline news television show. And he would occasionally adjust the time based on the news of the day. Yeah, it was like his own doomsday clock. Doctor Who, the series, the 8th episode of the series Heroes, is titled 7 Minutes to Midnight, which was the time on the clock at the release of the episode. But it's alluded to in all over the place: books, television, music, games. Magic the Gathering has parts. But it's very interesting to look back at all that stuff and think about the doomsday clock. Let me do this one real quick, and then I'll give you some useless facts that you can yak about at work this week. This past Tuesday, an attempt ended in Times Square. It began on October 2nd. 8 challengers started watching Iron Man, the movie, in a plastic glass house. That's what it is. I don't know what that means. But they were in New York's Times Square, and they were trying to break the Guinness World Book of Records for watching the most movies or the most hours, record for continuous movie watching. They watched 57 films in 123 hours. 2 people did. The challenge started with 8, and apparently after 72 hours they showed 10 minutes of the presidential debate, and 6 of them fell out. Yeah. They started with Iron Man and finished with Thelma and Louise. Yeah. And here are the rules. Each movie had to be viewed until the last credit rolled, and competitors couldn't divert their eyes from the screen. They were allowed 10-minute breaks between movies. Apparently, the couple, it's Suresh Joachim of Toronto and Claudia Wavra of Germany. They claim that they've broken it. The Guinness World Record spokesman said, it appears they've broken the record, but it could take up to 2 weeks to verify. So, very neat thing. I think I could watch 123 hours. Well, maybe not. I go to sleep quick. All right, let me give you a couple of these. This was fairly interesting. Any of you people that are fond of Moby Dick and the classics might be interested to know this. During his lifetime, Herman Melville's timeless classic of the sea, Moby Dick, only sold 50 copies while he was alive. Yeah, kind of weird. Tom Sawyer was the first novel written on a typewriter. Get this, there are more than 100 chemicals in a cup of coffee. Yeah. That's why I like it. And get this, we always talk about the fact that women in Saudi Arabia and stuff have no rights. They're like second-class citizens. Get this, a Saudi Arabian woman can get a divorce if her husband doesn't give her coffee. Yeah. No coffee? You're out of here. Huh. There are more donut shops per capita in Canada than any other country.
They got a lot of cops up there?
Apparently a lot of cops, yeah. And this was a good one. M&M's stands for the last names of Forrest Mars Sr., the sweet maker, and his associate Bruce Murray. So it's Mars and Murray, means M&M's. And the candy was developed, hard candy coating, melt in your mouth, not in your hand. It was developed during the war so soldiers could eat sweets without getting their fingers sticky. Yeah, kind of cool, huh? You knew
But
that
I
too, didn't you,
still won't
Andrea?
eat those things as long as that little skunk is sponsored by them.
Yeah, I know.
M&M's are good.
A Virginia law requires all bathtubs to be kept out in the yard and not in the house.
Wow.
In Virginia.
I'm
Yeah.
going to do that on my front yard. Put the hot tub out in the front yard.
And in the United States, in 24 American states, impotence is legal grounds for divorce. Not getting coffee, impotence. In Baltimore, it's illegal to wash or scrub a sink, regardless of how dirty it is.
Cool.
Yeah. Apparently, you don't want to be taking nothing out of the sink in Baltimore. In Hartford, Connecticut, it is illegal for a husband to kiss his wife on a Sunday. Yeah. 1 minute. All right. 1 minute. I want to remind everybody that on Sunday, special episode of No Spin with Molly Kelly and Tom Eaton. On next Friday, October 17th, the premiere of Talkin' Awe, my new talk show at 10 p.m. Don't forget, Cheshire TV on the web, CheshireTV.org. You can watch every show that you would normally see here in Keene. You can watch it wherever you are. Up next on No Spin, a couple of the candidates for New Hampshire House are going to be on. Randy didn't know which ones they had finalized with. And I assume that Chris will be back. I don't know what he was doing last week, but he couldn't bother to make it. Want to thank my crew, thank my Cheshire TV, thank my sponsors, Mom's Tattoo, Gemini Screen Print. Till next week.